On today's episode, epic side hustles. I'm Jeremy Fisher. This is The Awakening. I'm a sucker for movies that tell stories of overcoming, like this one.
Chris, what would you say if a guy walked in for an interview without a shirt on? And I hired him. What would you say?
He must have had on some really nice pants.
That's a clip from The Pursuit of Happiness, a true story about Chris Gardner, who, after facing setback after setback, was able to overcome homelessness and become financially independent. If you haven't seen the movie, I would highly recommend it. The story is epic. Watching movies like these makes me ask the question, what kinds of other epic success stories are out there, and which ones are related to side hustles? Well, today, we're going to talk about 3. Several years back, Joel Young found himself in a situation many American families face. He was deeply in debt with a really unpredictable job and a young family to provide for. As a pastor, Joel's income was all over the place, according to him, and so were the gigs he was involved in. He was constantly moving his family around from different towns and states with every new church. Joel was constantly looking for ways to pay the bills and hopefully escape the uncertainty that came with the life that he had chosen. Then one day, Joel paid $10 to a voiceover actor from Fiverr to record a voiceover for a church project that he was working on. Joel had a decent voice, and it made him think, why wouldn't he try to do some voiceover work as well? Using a leftover microphone from a band that he was in, Joel posted voiceover services on Fiverr.com. In the first month, he made $400. He focused on over-delivering service to his clients. He went over and above the bare minimum and introduced other services like explainer videos that he would charge up to a few $100s for. Orders began to roll in, and Joel became a pretty popular Fiverr seller. After a few years, Joel looked up and realized he had made over $1.5 million from voiceover work and explainer videos on Fiverr. Not only was Joel able to pay off the debt that he owed, he took his hustle full time and today has been able to achieve a level of financial success in just a few years that would have taken him decades to achieve. If Joel's story isn't epic enough for you, how about one from someone who made $1 million just from wearing t-shirts? Jason Sadler had an idea to create a brand where he would charge companies $1 to wear any t-shirt they wanted him to wear, and he would post pictures of that on his website, iwearyourshirt.com. Each day of the year, the price went up by $1 until he was paid $365 by the sponsor on December 31st. Jason's idea got a lot of publicity. More eyeballs came to his site, which made sponsors really attracted to what he was offering. Jason increased his prices. He scaled the business by hiring other people to wear shirts for him and by having multiple sponsors every day. In addition to wearing the shirt, he would photograph himself in the shirt, share the picture through social media, which he had grown through his publicity, and host a brief video chat on his website where he would talk about the sponsor. Jason's story became featured on The Today Show, CBS Evening News, and Forbes. All of the publicity, of course, just led to more sponsors. Jason ran this business for 4 years when he decided to move on to other projects. But during that run, Jason and his team created more than 3,000 videos, took more than 12,000 photos for sponsors, and made just over $1 million. Similar to Jason's idea, Alex too had $1 million idea that became a piece of internet history. Alex wanted a revenue stream to pay for his college degree that wouldn't involve capital and going into further debt. So he had a very simple idea. He created a website called $1,000,000homepage.com. The homepage consisted of 1 million pixels arranged in a 1,000 by 1,000 pixel grid. Alex's idea was to sell the pixels in 10 by 10 blocks to companies so they could use the blocks as advertising space. Each block would be an image that would then link to the business website. Basically, these were little mini ads on his website, which would become one giant billboard. Each pixel would cost $1, with a minimum spend of $100. Eventually, his plan was to sell every single pixel on the page, and since there were 1 million of them, this would lead to $1 million. The page would never have more than 1 million pixels, which introduced scarcity and exclusivity. Well, the idea really worked. With no advertising budget, Alex had to start where many startups do, family and friends. He asked his family and friends to buy pixels so he could raise funds, and after 2 weeks, he had sold 4,700 pixels, generating $4,700. That is what he decided to spend on advertising. And luckily, Alex knew exactly how to get the most out of that $4,700. He hired a PR agency to write a press release that contained a unique story with an interesting angle about his $1 million homepage. The story was immediately picked up by BBC and The Guardian, and the day it went out, he sold another $3,000 worth of pixels. From there, he went viral. Social media, bloggers, chat forums, all were interested in sharing this unique and interesting story. In the next 2 weeks, Alex made $250,000, and his simple website received over 65,000 hits per day. Global media then picked up on his traction, and Alex got media coverage in 35 countries. It only took 2 months for Alex's website to reach $500,000. Alex hired a press officer to generate even more publicity and increase sales in the US, which helped him book interviews on US media. More advertisers joined the project, including the band Tenacious D. By December 31st, just 138 days after launch, Alex had reached $999,000 worth of pixels sold. To maximize publicity, he auctioned off the last 1,000 pixels on eBay. The auction lasted 11 days, and the winning bidder, MillionDollarWeightLoss.com, bid $38,000. In just a few months, Alex's website had raked in $1,037,000. The $1 million homepage now is beginning to decay, with over 20% of its links no longer working. The $1 million homepage didn't become a household name, but it is now a piece of internet history. And it's not without controversy. Some people say what Alex did was capitalism at its worst. Others take the position that if you've got a creative idea and people are willing to pay for it, how can you really fault him? Unique ideas like Joel's Fiverr pivot, Jason's t-shirt sponsorships, or Alex's $1 million homepage can be rewarded if you're willing to work your butt off to get the publicity you might need. So what about you or me? Is it possible that you and I can have the type of idea that could lead to a $1 million side hustle? Or is that just the type of thing that exists in movies? Well, I'm not going to be the one to tell you that you couldn't make that happen. Which reminds me of another clip. One of my favorites from The Pursuit of Happiness.
Don't ever let somebody tell you you can't do something. Not even me. All right?
All right.
You got a dream, you got to protect it. People can't do something themselves. They want to tell you you can't do it. You want something, go get it. Period.
That's it for today's show. You can find more ideas like this at theawakening.com. If opportunity doesn't come knocking, let's build a door.